Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about what does bouncing on an exercise ball do for pregnancy. You've been hearing about it, you've been seeing it, you probably have one or two of these at home. We're going to talk about why does an exercise ball really help us during pregnancy and why is it encouraged? We'll talk about relieving pain. We'll talk about cervical dilation and the impact of a ball on that. And we'll talk about the tips for best use and making sure that we're being safe as we use an exercise ball during pregnancy. So we see them in birthing centers, we see them on TikTok and all the videos, and you might be thinking, okay, do I need one? Is it helpful? Is it just a fluke? You know, the science actually does support using an exercise ball. Now we call them a birthing ball as well. It doesn't matter. It is a ball of this type that you are using during your pregnancy. The biggest benefit to using a ball is really helping your core and actually helping your hips as you go through your first, second, third trimesters and preparing for labor as well. See, gentle bouncing, for instance, on an exercise ball will actually help with your stability. It will help with the movement of your pelvis. And you know what? Let me just grab my pelvis so you can kind of see a little bit of what's going on internally, okay? So just to give you an idea of where we are, these are your hip bones. These are what you can actually feel on your sides. Right here is the top of your thigh bone. And so we can see them here. So the entire bone is in there. So just kind of imagine you're walking and moving something like this back and forth, okay? If we were to flip underneath, this would be where your private organs are. And this is where you're sitting. You have your sacral spine, you have your ischial bones. These are things that help us as we're checking your dilation and all the things. So this is what your pelvis would normally look like here. Now, when we are sitting on a ball, our legs are like this, and we're sitting on it, and what's happening is as we're rocking and we're moving back and forth like this, we are causing our hips to tilt back and forth like this, all movements that actually help to impact your muscles that are on the pelvic floor. It helps the muscles connecting to your legs and your thighs. It helps in preparation of labor because as we're pushing out a baby, we're bringing our legs back. If our joints and our muscles here are really tight, sometimes it makes it a little bit more difficult for us to actually push our baby through our pelvis. And so when we're sitting on a ball, similar to the position you'll be in during labor to deliver your baby like this, if we rotate and we're sitting on a ball and opening up those legs and your hips from throughout your pregnancy, it actually makes the labor process much easier and more comfortable. So let's talk about that a little bit more. The alignment of your hips, muscles, and joints will help with your core, will help with your back. It will help with pains that you can have during pregnancies. It will help with stabilization as pregnancy protrudes. Your back extends and can cause a lot of tightness and pain during your pregnancy. When we incorporate an exercise ball, we are allowing the disengagement of those joints and muscles. We're helping them to relax, but we're helping them to stretch and maintain their mobility as you're going through your pregnancy, which is super, super, super important. When we create more space in our pelvis as well, we help with baby's descent down into our pelvis. We help baby to be in the correct position because when we think of presentation, we're talking about is baby coming down head first? Is baby coming down with a foot or a leg, which we don't want? Is baby completely breached? Where is baby's butt coming first towards the pelvis? All of these things are really important, and the more we open up our hips and our pelvis, the more we give room for baby to come down in the right position. Now I must note, because we're talking about presentation here, is really important that we start thinking about these things like baby's presentation beyond 32 weeks of pregnancy. So if you are 20 weeks and you just had your anatomy scan and the ultrasound said that baby is breech, don't worry about it. If you're 26 weeks and an ultrasound says baby is transverse lie, meaning baby is across the abdomen, don't worry about it. If you're 34 weeks or 35 weeks and beyond and baby's in the wrong position, then we do have a serious conversation or a serious problem. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say a serious problem. We have a concern that we need to talk about and come up with a plan regarding delivery, a possible version, all the things to help baby get into the right position, all of that. Prior to that, if you are using an exercise ball and rocking and shifting and bouncing gently on there and balancing each and every day, you're encouraging your pelvis to open and give baby room to get into the right position. That's just one of the many benefits of using the exercise ball. The science actually shows that bouncing on the ball also helps to relieve back and hip pain. If you've ever had sciatica, nerve issues, if you have a tight back because you're balancing this growing abdomen, all of the things that happens in the transitions through your trimesters can lead to you having a lot of back pain. And yes, you can use the pelvic belts and the supports that we have there. Those are wonderful. But some of the other conservative things that we can do is actually bounce on a birthing ball or an exercise ball every single day. Bouncing on a birthing ball also helps with your circulation. Just like walking up the stairs or exercising and doing movement, bouncing on the ball actually helps blood flow. It helps with lymphatic flow. Your lymphatic system is another vascular system that we have in our body. It's very similar to our blood vessels. They actually run side by side, and it is really, really important for removing toxins from your body, from helping with your circulation, helping with your immunity. And so both of these systems can cause you to have an extreme amount of edema or swelling, or have other problems with circulation during your pregnancy if it is not working well. And so we want to encourage blood flow and lymphatic flow throughout. And so bouncing on the ball helps to encourage that your vessels contract and pump your blood and your lymph throughout your system consistently. And so we're not talking about like heavy jumping on the balls, and I'll show you what that jumping and bouncing should look like. But it's a gentle bounce on the ball that will actually help to encourage that blood flow and that lymphatic flow. So let's take a look at me doing this bouncing right now. All right, so now you see me, I have my ball here. I am sitting on the ball. I am rotating my hips, engaging my core, supporting my back upright. All great positioning and formation on the ball right now. But let's talk about those bounces. As I mentioned, this is how we bounce on the exercise ball. We can bounce towards the front and actually have our back extended a little bit. That might be harder as you are growing and if you're further in your pregnancy, because it requires more core engagement. If we go towards the back on the ball, bring your feet closer to the ball itself, this takes more pressure off of the abdomen, more pressure off of your back, and helps to focus more on the pelvis. And so with that, you can have your feet closer together, medium distance apart, or sometimes if baby is just sitting right in between your thighs and your legs here, it might be best to have your legs out, stretched, and bounce on the ball. All of these positions on the ball will be helpful, again, with that fetal descent into the pelvis, will be very helpful for stabilizing your core and helping with back and hip pain. Now that you've seen what the bouncing looks like, let's talk about how this can actually help with the labor process as well. Now, when we're checking your cervix, we're checking for dilation, we're checking for effacement, we're checking station, and we're checking consistency and position of your cervix. Now, this is way more medicine than you will probably want to know. But as far as the birthing ball is concerned, when we're checking effacement, we're looking at the length of your cervix. In general, when you are in your first trimester, before you're pregnant, when your cervix is nice and tight and strong, holding the pregnancy in, your cervix should be about this length, which is about 3 to 4 centimeters or so, okay? Now, when you're laboring, we are checking this when we physically check your cervix. If your cervix is really long, we call that uneffaced or very little effacement. If your cervix has shortened quite a bit, in general, when it's close to having your baby, like to give birth vaginally, that cervix is like paper thin. So it goes from about this length to paper thin. And so that effacement is called 100% when it's all the way thinned, 50% when it's halfway, 0 when it's not effaced at all. What the science has shown is that using an exercise ball and doing those gentle bounces that I just showed you actually helps with the effacement as you labor. It helps your effacement to go more smoothly, faster. And if this is your first pregnancy, we know effacement is very important in helping you to dilate. That means that your body and your cervix needs to thin all the way before it actually starts to open up and dilate very well. And so we want that effacement to happen. And what helps with that? Those gentle bounces that you just saw me do on that birthing ball. The science has shown this, and laboring can be long. If we want to shorten that laboring process, we start doing bounces like that on your birthing ball every day during your pregnancy and starting in your second trimester. So if you just got pregnant yesterday, meaning that we're like 4 weeks pregnant, 5 weeks pregnant, like newly pregnant, we don't want to start doing the bouncing on the balls yet, okay? Get through your first trimester. As you hit 14, 15, 16 weeks of pregnancy, go ahead and get your ball and start to incorporate that in your daily activities. One of my favorite uses of the birthing ball is actually to help us relax. Believe it or not, I feel like in this day and age, we're so consumed with doing so much. We're tackling 1,000 different chores and we're getting things off our list. And especially when you're preparing for a new baby, you're now also working on the nursery and buying all the things and getting the car seat, and 1,000 things are happening. And whenever we take a moment to step back and actually use the birthing ball, this is a moment to relax and to relax our minds, to meditate, to think of the things, to be more internal, to touch ourselves within. And so it is the best way to relax, pause for a second, and reflect. And so the mental support is just so tremendous, and I encourage that you use the birthing ball for that purpose as well. Take a moment with yourself, away from everyone else and all the businesses of life. Reflect on your pregnancy, reflect on your growing baby, reflect on how your life may change very, very soon. These benefits are priceless, and believe it or not, will help you as you go from day to day. All right, so I did mention how using the birthing ball may lead to cervical effacement later on in pregnancy when it's important for it to happen. We also know that during labor, the birthing ball is really extremely important. I'm going to now show you how you can use the ball during labor, some of the ways that we can use it. But in active labor, while you are having the contractions, while you're listening to your body, while you're moving naturally, squatting on your ball, opening up those hips will help your baby to descend into your pelvis and help them actually get into the space that will work best for your body and passing through the vaginal canal. So let's take a look at what that should look like. Now, as we continue to encourage and use our exercise ball during pregnancy, know that second trimester, as I mentioned before, is a great start for using the ball. Know that if you are incorporating it on a daily basis, the recommendation is using it for 10 to 20 minutes per day. Now that could be broken up a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. If you want to do this right before you go to bed at night, just as great. If you want to do this first thing in the morning, you wake up and just have a moment to meditate and relax, go ahead and grab your ball as well. We don't recommend this during your first trimester. And really because your body is just going through so much transition, the benefits from using the ball will not be as pronounced as when you're in your second and your third trimester. Now, if you're like, I always use a ball anyways, and I'd like to continue doing that during your first trimester, just get your clearance from your OBGYN. In general, it is fine, but for the benefits of using the ball, everything having to do with effacement and your labor and your back pain and stabilizing your core, all those beautiful things, starting in your second trimester would be best. Now, as you are purchasing and trying to purchase a new ball, a couple of things that I want to remind you of or tell you about when it comes to safety. The first is to make sure that we're getting a ball that is right for your size. In general, we want your hips to be right about on the same level as your knee, maybe slightly above when we're not on the ball, okay? But when we're sitting on the ball, we do want your hips to be about the same level of the knee, maybe a little bit lower, so you can adjust that by taking a little bit of the air out your ball, but not so low that you are like all the way down here. We don't necessarily want that, just slightly below your knee. Using your ball on a carpeted surface is perfect, or on a non-slip type of surface would be excellent. Also, that we can reduce the likelihood of you falling and slipping. Now, in general, while all of these movements are very helpful, it is important for you to pay attention to how your body is feeling and communicating with your doctors as well. If you have any degree of pelvic instability, if you have pubic bone dysfunction or separation of your pubic bone, these are reasons why we may not want to use the birthing ball as much. Also, if you're at risk of having preterm labor, or if you have any orthopedic issues, problems with your bones and your joints and your hips, be sure to get clearance from your doctors before you start incorporating the birthing ball in your regular activities. I hope this information has been very helpful for you today. I want to say congratulations to you in your pregnancy because I know that you're going through it. I'm glad that you're listening in and that you are interested in using the birthing ball to help you through your journey, and it can be very helpful. Thank you for listening in. Let me know your thoughts in your comments below. And listen, there is another video that I have right now that I think will be helpful as you're going through your pregnancy journey and doing all your exercises. And so go ahead and click that link below, and that will send you to the other video that I think will be just as good for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. Go ahead and we'll see you on the next video.